All right, it's 7:01. Let's get started. Rob Levash and Robert Powers, I've promoted both of you so you can participate if you want, and ask questions. Just so let me start. This is the meeting of the Milton Community Preservation Committee, and we are my name is Tom Callahan, and I'm the chair of the committee and representing the Affordable Housing Trust. Why don't we just go around and introduce ourselves?
Jenny Russell, vice chair and citizen at large.
Peter Jackson, citizen at large and treasurer.
Kathleen O'Donnell, citizen at large.
Rob?
We don't see
We
him.
just lost him.
Lost him.
He tried to. All right, so
Tried to unmute.
he tried to unmute and I think he disconnected. And we have an interim member who's not yet a member, but welcome to Robert Powers, who's representing the Housing Authority. He's going to be sworn in later this week. He'll be an official member by the time we meet next. Robbie, you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Robert. Welcome.
Welcome. We're glad to have you filling the seats later this week, and welcome to your first meeting. All right, we have we determined we had quorum without Rob, right?
All right.
All right, so we can continue. I'm sure Rob will be joining us shortly. Okay. All right. Under other business for the, or under committee updates, we'll just deal with Jenny's good work. We have minutes from which dates, Jenny?
On July 16th and October 16th.
So Jenny distributed those. Are we, any comments? Did I say motion to approve those 2 minutes?
I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion and second. All in favor? We have to take a roll call.
Oh, yeah.
I guess sort of Rob. It's not online, but let's take a roll call on this. Jenny?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Kathleen, yes.
Pete, yes.
Pete? And Rob still don't know. Okay.
How about you?
And you.
And Tom, yes. Sorry.
So how does it,
I'm out of sorts.
so now you have to sign these? Is that how this works?
I do, yeah.
There you go. You can sign these
All right.
when you get a chance.
And don't know, we dealt with a number of committee updates at the last meeting. I'll just remind everybody, our next meeting is December 5th at 7 p.m. It's a Wednesday. So Wednesday night, December 5th. That's likely when we will begin deliberations of, I'm sorry.
No, not December.
I'm
November.
sorry, yeah, I realized just. Our next meeting is Wednesday, November 5th. November 5th, it's a Wednesday night, and that's likely when we will begin deliberations about recommendations to town meeting around this year's funding. So just, I think after tonight, we'll have completed all of our conversations with applicants, and we'll be able to go into deliberations on November 5th. All right. Is there any other committee updates people wanted to raise?
Well, that was
Not this one.
All right, so let's go right into our agenda and
Did you get my email about the order and presentation that I gave to people?
no, what is the order, the same one on the agenda?
No.
Okay, all right, do you have the order in front of you?
Yes.
Okay,
Beverly
Got it.
first, Beverly Park.
Heavily Park is first. You guys did you win the lottery or something? Is that the-
You did, didn't you?
Yeah.
So,
Come on up.
Oh, that's.
so, yeah,
I might think, oh, but it's like this. Just give those to Nick and then he. Over there.
welcome.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
We
So-
know your project well, so I don't think you have to.
Sat
go
here
through a
4
full-
times.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just keep it from what's happened since last time we applied.
Perfect.
to keep a running tally.
Introduce yourselves.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
Jackie Bolden with Beverly Playground Planners.
And Lisa Barone, Beverly Playground Planners.
So we started this about 4 years ago and here we are again still, so still going strong. But so from, let's see, since we last submitted, let's talk about scope, from a scope perspective, as outlined in our application, we removed a piece of equipment from our scope, just to help reduce the overall cost. It was just a monster cost, so we still, our big goal is to make sure that it is still equitable and the same size as other playgrounds in the town, that still is the case. So we removed, to be specific, it was a standalone triple slide component that we removed. And this helps reduce the cost. I think it pointed out in the application by like $70,000. Footings, rubber flooring that it takes up, it adds up. And which was nice because we actually were able, it forced us to do a refresh of the estimate. So what we have in the application is, it's fresh. And then also too, in a scope perspective, I think it was September 9th, we officially got the land swap, so the select board voted on that, which is great. And from a fundraising perspective, we made some headway. We opened up a 501(c)(3), I believe. I don't think we had that since the last time. We opened a GoFundMe and we raised just over $8,000. We worked with the Mark A. Susi Scholarship Fund and we received $5,000 from them. We submitted an application with Conservation Tree Bank. I'm sure I'm probably botching that, and we received 5 trees from Carly Construction. So we just met with our landscape architect on where to place those. We met with Charlie Bosworth of Bosworth Construction, and he will be providing construction materials, and equipment for preparation and install of the playground, which was a huge win.
Yeah.
So, and then also what's next? So in the next 2 weeks, we just met with Bill Madden of Lombardi Landscaping, landscape architect, and he, within the next 2 weeks, is putting the he's completing the RFP to go out to bid. Nick's team did provide the RFP for us to fill out. And so we will be working with Nick Milano on, once we get those bids back, on next steps in that journey. We of course will continue to reach out to foundations for money. We feel like it's time to bring more awareness to the public on where we are at with this project. I think we did a Milton Times article, like 3 summers ago maybe or something, so I think it's time. And to bring more awareness and to really push for the community contributions. Lisa also has been working with the owner of the Nutshell. There's a pending fundraiser event coming up where I can let Lisa talk about that.
Yeah, Nancy does a fundraising wrapping event every year, which some folks might be familiar with. So you can come in and either purchase items at the store or bring items you bought elsewhere, and then they'll wrap them for you essentially for free if you donate. It's a certain cause every year, and this year it's us. So yeah, we're just trying to settle on a date and a time, but hopefully that brings in a few extra $1,000 too. And I think for the community awareness piece, that will be important because that's a place lots of people shop. So.
Yeah.
And that was a result of, it was right before the summer, we presented to the Chamber of Commerce in Milton. They had like a I think they meet monthly. And so they had like a little luncheon at Novara, so we got to speak in front of them and just bring awareness, so that as a result of that, which was nice. So to remind everybody what our ask is, $75,000, and that is to get it done. So that brings us to the finish line. That actually does not include fencing. We decided that, and handicap accessible parking spot. that's not needed to do this, so we said we need to get this to a point where it has to be. Kids have to be on swings, so how do we do that? So we will even if we were to get the $75,000 and do this, we will still. Get that fencing in and hopefully that accessible parking spot, but this was just to. Get something to our community, anything else?
The fencing, just to, I know it's not part of it, but the fencing would be around the playground.
Yeah, we just feel, and this kind of came up too with talking to people about it, is it's very close to that street. Just because being off of the brook, being in that variance and trying to be away from the neighbor to the left. Where we're up against this sidewalk-ish, like very close to the sidewalk. People fly down that street, coming off of Canton, so we just to give families a little bit of ease, we would like to corral the children.
We do have, to Jackie's point, that extra layer of safety would be a sort of a nice to have, but there is that sort of layer of trees that blocks you directly from Canton. Bill has been pretty thoughtful about using the trees that are being donated to create an additional side on the side that doesn't have anything that just sort of goes into that house. And then there is the sidewalk in the front, so it's not as if kids are playing on the street, but as a parent, like any extra fence would be ideal.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's do some questions. You anything else you wanna present or?
No.
Okay.
To that point, I was just curious, do you know how big the trees are gonna be when you get them that are being donated?
He told us the type of tree, which is escaping me now, something local to the area.
John, do you know that?
That's all you pay.
Yeah.
Donation is about an enforcement order. And at LA Street, from 10 years to 12 years. When the big oak tree came down. Freddie was trying out. This is the end of the enforcement order. So those trees they were required by the town. So it was up to the conservation commission as to where they should go.
Okay, so I'm sorry, they're oak,
I think
this,
4 6-inch trees and 6 4-inches.
Wow, those are big trees.
But there's some 6-inch trees, they're big.
They're big,
and
that's
some
great.
okay, that's great. So I was curious, just in terms of shade, because will be no shade there, so are the trees gonna be close enough to provide some shade, do you know, or?
I think that's the plan, yeah.
Yeah.
We went with Bill recently and used a little spray paint and just sort of sprayed a perimeter and then planted out like where the trees would go, and they were
Right.
very close,
Oh,
yeah.
that's good. And then the other question I had was, had anybody suggested a water fountain?
We talked about it at one point, I forget why they said no,
Like a splash pad?
yeah.
No,
Someone-
no, like a
No,
water fountain.
oh,
Water-
oh.
Drinking.
I think we talked about a splash pad.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No.
No, actually.
Yeah.
So that might be something to talk about.
Do all the other playgrounds have water fountains?
Well,
No.
we did have an application
We
for,
funded one
in,
Andrews.
Andrews Park.
Not a water fountain, a fill station.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Right.
I mean, I
But,
can,
you know, most parents bring water, with them these days.
but as for prevention of,
Yeah.
having water, having plastic bottles or
Yeah.
just having it,
Yeah.
you don't, kids overheating or it
So you funded one at Andrews, what does that cost?
was around 10
it's
grand.
10,000.
10 for,
Our funding was 10,000.
for like one water, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Is it installed right now?
It's been
No.
installed, yeah. The East Milton Neighborhood Association was the sponsor.
Oh,
That
cool.
front.
So you might want to talk to them about
Yeah.
that.
Okay, that's a great tip, thank you.
Yeah.
All right,
And
other,
just, the only other comment is love the letters from the kids. I mean, they're just fabulous. They're just great. It's so cute. They're so adorable. So thank you for including those.
Yeah.
I'm
Other
glad
questions?
that this grant would put you over the top.
Mhm.
And, you can plan on getting this done. But you identified a lot of additional fundraising, so I guess that will primarily go to try to get the fencing done and, some other
Mhm.
things. When you remove that triple slide, did you reduce the area of the playground or?
So yes, we
Okay.
shrunk the rubber.
Yeah.
Right, so we shrunk it in scope and then also removed some equipment after that because there are drop zones, fall zones, like
Right.
depending on how much equipment you have. So to keep everything safe and up to code, we did both of those things at one time.
Okay, but you're happy with the equipment you got?
Yeah,
Because-
very happy,
I mean,
yeah.
I was thinking if you're keeping the same size, you could always add something later if you've got it constructed.
Yeah,
like that.
I think we were surprised, and I won't speak for you, but I think you feel the same, when we finally like walked it physically with Bill.
yeah,
Our original scope versus where we're landing, this actually feels better, especially with the houses that would sort of abut it. This is like not even close to the house, and it would have lots of trees in between, and it felt more manageable for the town, but would still provide really great play space for the kids. So
Yeah.
I hesitate to say the first scope was too big, because like what playground is ever too big, but this will not feel
Yeah.
small. We feel
Okay,
good about
good.
this, yeah.
it like lands, there's like the existing two trees like to the left and it lands like right there, and so it gives. People use that left-hand side where the house is to go to that, the trail entrance and stuff, and that keeps that, it just feels like very.
Yeah,
Nice, and then there's gonna be that big space behind it between the brook and the
Right.
playground, just like. It still gives people, like, not that it's really being used today, in my opinion, but people do go there occasionally with, to throw a ball to their
Right.
dog, and like. It would be nice to, if there's kids like get sick of the playground or their siblings are playing and they kind of want to like just hang out with a friend and kick a ball or like eat a snack on the grass, like it still provides that
yeah.
space. Yeah.
Are your kids gonna be still young enough to use this?
Okay, so mine are 8 and 6 now, if they can bring it over the finish line, right?
Yeah.
That's like, yeah.
Yeah, mine are 8, 6, and 3, and
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't pregnant with the
Okay.
third.
You made a tremendous, I mean, you've done a tremendous job with this
Lot of
from
work.
beginning to end,
Yeah.
so congratulations.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can see the finish line, right?
Yeah.
So let me just have Cheryl and Rob introduce themselves, because we missed you when we did the initial introduction, so Rob and Cheryl. Just introduce yourself and your role on this committee.
Rob Levash, Parks Commissioner, representing the Parks Commission in Milton.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Cheryl Tagayas, representing the planning board.
All right, and for your benefit, Robert Powers is online, but is not an official member yet until he gets sworn in later this week. He will be an official member when we deliberate in November. So, all right, so any other questions from Cheryl, Rob, anybody here?
I have no other questions, just obviously continues to be a support for this project and this neighborhood, and I'm glad that you're getting close to the finish line, that this thing will be up. I do hope that you'll be able to get fencing around it, because I know it's close to the road over there, so I definitely think that's a great idea for the future. Because I think every playground in town has a fence around it, right? Or does
I mean, Kelly does not.
Kelly's the only one, I
Kelly
think.
Natural.
Kelly is
As it goes
on
down.
the hill and far away from the side streets.
I
It's
think there's like one piece of fencing in front of the cars, but maybe not even.
no.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think it's like in that downhill, so it's
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
no,
a
it's
little
pretty
bit more
safe.
protected. How much is the fencing for the project? Is it a big number
It's big enough that we couldn't do
that
it
you took it
without-
out? Okay,
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
and where the playground starts too, if you can picture, so we all know where the other house is and where it would stop, but if you can picture where the rock is and how much space there still is between the rock and the road, it's a significant distance in from
Okay.
that natural tree barrier, so.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not putting it around the side.
No,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah,
very central.
Yeah,
They put
okay.
placeholder in like a few applications go up like 15K.
Mhm.
And if you add 15K onto 75, it sounds
Mhm.
horrible rather than
Yeah,
75.
Yeah.
I think your continuing fundraising is not close at.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
all right, thanks.
we have a big agenda tonight, so lots of folks, so I'm just gonna move along, and, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, we appreciate all the.
Congratulations on
support.
progress.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Housing trust is next.
All right, Julie.
Yes.
Hi there. Good evening.
So for the record, introduce yourself.
My name is Julie Kramer. I live at 58 Frothingham Street and I chair the Milton Affordable Housing Trust committee, and we are a trust. And we have an application into the CPC for funding for affordable housing projects in the town. We've been very fortunate to have received funding in every round, and we, greatly appreciate that. A fully funded, trust is important for, folks who are thinking about, building affordable housing in our town, to come to us and discuss the virtues of their project and of course, the ability for those units to make it to the SHI, the subsidized housing inventory. There's been a lot of great progress happening in town towards the SHI, so we're ecstatic about that, for a long time, we're at 4.5%, and we're inching closer to 10.
How much closer?
The last I really took a deep look at it, we were at about 7. And some of that is a little, it's because we because we issued 40B permits.
Yeah.
So even if the 40B permit, you have this window, so even if the 40B permit hasn't pulled the building permit or isn't underway, per se, you can count it towards the unit, so it's
Only for a period of time.
only for a period of time.
And it goes away if the project doesn't go
Right,
forward.
right.
Nick, do you have an updated number?
I'm just looking it up.
So we're still in that ballpark currently. I'll just note that if all of the projects are built as proposed, the town will be over the 10% threshold according to the 2020 census numbers. That will be updated with 2030 numbers at some point, but if everything is built out as proposed currently, and most of them have building permits except for the large one on Canton Ave at 648 Canton Ave. 582 will allow this kind of commence any day now, so if they're all built, the towers won't be over the 10% threshold.
So, no, it's great. I mean, I will caveat that with, that 10% goal is important. It's important for all of us. But it doesn't mean that we have 10% of our stock is affordable, right? And that is one of
Can
the,
you explain how the rental projects
Sure.
particularly work?
yes, sure. So, a large project, the one I can't have, 129 or 30 units or so. Only 25% have to be affordable at 80% AMI, but all the units count, okay? Which is, it's how the process works. Nothing wrong with it, I think it's important to get some of these projects in place and operating and providing housing options, not, at every level, right, of the income band. So what we've done so far, as I was here last year, is we funded the Winter Valley Phase 2 project with $400,000. They came back to us again and asked for a $70,000 extra. We moved quickly, we got them that award. We felt it was appropriate, given the fact that they faced some challenges with pricing. They also, have put forth a very energy efficient passive house, certifiable project there, and they didn't want to have to take any steps back from that. HUD's funding has been a little bit of a problem for them. The funding they had in place to cover some of these important features was sidelined for projects all over, in every state. They re-engaged with that and got some really great positive news from HUD, and HUD was back at the closing table, and then HUD closed down because of the closing of the shutdown. So I did speak with their attorney the other day, and they are fielding questions, so it's not completely shut off, but and they are ready when HUD opens back up, they'll be, ready. So that was.
They expect to close shortly after.
They do,
government
they do.
reopens.
I mean, we have a funding agreement that I have to send to Nick. That is an important part of the puzzle, but, for them to get a letter from the Affordable Housing Trust for that $70,000, which. In the grand scheme of things is relatively insignificant, but HUD will not move on any project until all the funding letters are in hand. So
Yeah.
it was important that we could move quickly.
great. One of the reasons we have a trust.
Exactly, exactly. So we also heard from the Tamposies on the Canton Ave site. They joined one of our meetings, and I know they were in front of you folks for the same request. So we dug in a little bit with them. What they're asking for or asking to do with these funds, I think is appropriate. I think the committee in general feels it's appropriate, the Affordable Housing Trust Committee. I don't think we are ready to award funds to the project yet because of some of the lawsuits and because there isn't quite a clear path for them yet. And, that's important for us as well, the Affordable Housing Trust, to have, somewhat shovel-ready projects.
Do they know that?
Yes, we've spoken to them and they understood that, when they presented to us, I made it clear that, many of us on the committee are not ready to vote on it, and if we did, it would be voted down because of the lawsuits. So what they're trying to do though is appropriate, and I appreciate what they're doing, which is, they only have to provide 80% AMI units. So an 80% AMI unit in a 2-bedroom, you have to have on or around about $123,000 income to afford that unit, and that unit is $3,000 a month. That's an 80% AMI unit. They have asked to buy down some affordability through the Milton Affordable Housing Trust to reach 50% AMI residents, which, still $74,000. You have to be making $74,000 out of a two-bedroom, which is a 3-person home, in the semantics of it all. And then the rent, would go down to 1,800. What's also important is that those rents are tagged to the AMI. So all their other units, they can, raise rents. And in the affordable units, especially the 50% AMI unit, it's pegged to the AMI's 50% AMI. So we're not ready to award it. I think it's got hurdles, but I encourage that developers are thinking that way. They're recognizing that an 80% AMI unit, it's a very narrow band. They still, folks still can't afford homes here. I'm not suggesting they have other options here, but it is, it's that those lower income families and residents who really don't have options here,
Julie, I just want to move us along because we have a big agenda. So, can you mention something about the town farm in terms of
Sure.
the other big
Sure.
chunk, obviously that.
So the
that we-
town farm
Yeah.
came to us, the town farm, when the two firms responded, one asked for $1 million, one asked for $500,000. One group dropped out, so we're now back to the one firm who is hopefully gonna get awarded the project, and hopefully will move quickly to through an LDA process, and when they land disposition agreement with the town.
Thank you.
And if they do, and when they do, they'll come to us with what changes may have been made to their project. I think there's talk of maybe lowering the number of units, or potentially, working out some of the changes requested by the neighbors. So
But it's likely that applicant will probably be asking for more than they originally, I mean, they
I
haven't
think-
formally asked
right.
because they were just an applicant,
Yeah.
but that $500,000 my understanding, one of the things that's going on is conversations between the Governor Stoughton trustees and the developer. Obviously, the submission was a year and a half ago.
Yes,
Right.
At least,
at least.
at least
I think
at
it's
this
more.
point.
I think it's more.
Yeah, maybe closer to 2
I
years.
think it's closer to
and
2 years.
prices have changed,
Prices.
obviously.
Interest rates
So there
have
needs,
changed.
there needs to be a
you know.
repricing of
Right.
stuff.
And we would expect that.
Yeah.
To come our way, you know.
I would hope that the number of units is reduced. And
Yeah.
that's modest amount for that site, and,
I do as well.
I have a question for you. One of the reasons that we asked the Campos to come to you rather than us award is we don't have the financial capability to decide if they're, $500,000 but they reduced 5 units. If that's good economics, or if they were asking too much, and we're hoping that, you guys have the expertise that you can, say, for what you're offering, that's 500,000 is too much, or whatever. So I would hope that you would play that technical
For
financial
sure.
role,
They,
and we certainly don't have
Yeah.
that.
they got an earful from.
They did, they got
Julie.
it.
I mean, good, and I
Yeah,
don't mean.
not in a
mean-
negative way,
Yeah.
but like,
Right.
and from the rest of the trust, is they wanted bigger units.
Mhm.
They, when they first approached us, so we have a really active trust. We have really people from all aspects of of housing, finance and design and everything else. So it is great. And I think it worked well. And that's what we want to encourage. We want folks to come to us and say, what if I did this? And how would it look in front of the trust? And,
Excellent.
Other questions for Julie?
great.
Julie, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
very much.
for all your work.
Pete, who's next? I love this. I just turned to Pete. So
Yes, you were. I had sent out an email to all the applicants, kind of giving them.
Yes. No, I appreciate it.
Requests and all that kind of thing.
So who's next?
The estuary, not the estuary, Arthur.
Arthur Dorwell.
And Mr. Cannon, chairman of the commission, joins. Are you good there? All right.
He's here for another project, so.
He's playing it safe. Good evening, and thank you for having us.
Welcome.
You have the application.
I know.
Arthur Doyle, a member of the Conservation Commission, and the person who submitted this application for work on the trail from Granite Avenue to Riverside Avenue. We have been able to construct a budget, just a little bit of history. You have in the materials a map showing the Granite Branch of the Old Colony Railway. The Old Colony Railway was established, incorporated in 1846 for the purpose of budding a railway from Boston to Plymouth. Nealon Street, which is White House Street Station, is where it is now. And then.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
So,
we need to keep it open.
later on, it developed a branch that came out of the Ponset and ran onto the old original first railway in the country, Granite Railway, from West Quincy, Quarries, down to the Neponset River. And that branch is also reflected here in this map. And on the following map in purple, the area was taken under the care, custody, and control of the Conservation Commission by a town meeting within the past 2 years. And through the auspices of CPC, we have been able to do surveying work and planning for the entire 33 acres, including these 1.8 acres. This trail leads out to Riverside Avenue, as I mentioned, and will ultimately connect with what's called Black Rock. It's a peninsula that goes out to the Neponset River. It was the site of the first crossing, if you will, between Milton and Dorchester of the Neponset River. Israel Stoughton, the father of Governor Stoughton, who was cited a moment ago, and another leader of the then unincorporated town of Milton gave permission for a ferry, what was called a one penny ferry, to cross at that point from Milton over to Dorchester. Also, interesting is that in 1885, this boundary that you see between Milton and Quincy was established. The original boundary was down at the Sagamore Creek toward the MBTA station. And over the years, there was some tensions between the two communities, and there were interested parties, and the boundary was
Closer
changed.
to the North Quincy MBTA station?
Yes,
Yeah.
that is correct. That was all Milton at one point in time.
Interesting.
The Conservation Commission has followed up, and it has established a signage at the beginning of the trail at Granite Avenue and Thistle Avenue, leading out. And at the present time, we're proposing a stage one of phase one, if you will, and that is a grass trail that is similar to those that you see at Milton Cemetery in a couple of locations. That would then go into a stage two with a later application for a trail that would be totally ADA compliant. At the present time, we are looking at other grants supporting alternatives as the CPC requested in the past. One of them is the Mass Trails Grants Program, and they will award for local projects such as this trail up to $100,000 a year, but they are reimbursement grants. So that would require that the project be funded by the community, and then an application would be made for reimbursement. We're also working with the town on what's called the ECHO projects and the eligibility for state funding for the successor to this proposal and to the work that was proposed in phases 2 and 3 going out to Black Rock, and then with the canal project over to the other side of the marshlands. So that's introduction.
Yeah, that's great.
To questions.
The only thing I would say, unless I'm reading this wrong, is I believe the very small amount that's in the budget for the trail mowing and maintenance,
Yes.
we cannot fund.
Okay.
That's one of the things that's not, that's only
It's only $200.
yeah, $2,000 really of the total budget, but it just, CPA monies cannot be used for maintaining, properties.
Thank you for that clarification.
Plus, we required it with CPA money. And we didn't. So if we bought a piece of land with CPA money, we can spend money to maintain that,
And that is not the case here.
but that's not the case.
Yeah, right.
Thank
So, I mean, it's a minor adjustment, but I just wanted to set that up. So other questions, Pete?
And you envision that would be by a contractor as opposed by town forces?
We're in discussion. We've spoken with Marina Fernandez, director of the DPW, and it's not budgeted there, at least not at this particular point in time. We don't know whether or not that's something that can be built into the budget. So at this particular time, we put in this figure on a contractor basis.
Okay. And this developed trail that you're doing will get you to Black Rock,
Yes,
to the base of Black Rock?
That's
but
correct.
Not out to the point.
that is
right?
correct.
Okay.
That would be phase 2, a
Yeah.
totally separate project, and that would probably involve a number of elements, including the city of Quincy because of that shift in the boundary line. Blue Cross Blue Shield, which owns the land, and they have a foundation that would be working with an livelihood, coastal zone management, and a host of other parties, including the Ponce River Watershed Association.
This is why the sidewalk you did last week, was it last year?
Yeah,
It was very helpful
Yeah.
for those of us that hadn't been out there.
Yeah.
Jenny?
No, I had a question about Blue Cross Blue Shield, but you answered it.
Okay.
It'd be in phase 2, I guess. Yeah, thanks.
I'd just like to say that the way you've kind of shifted the focus of your project from your initial, grant eligibility proposal, which was larger and kind of more complex, I think zeroing in on a first phase like this to really get some construction done, I think was a good decision. Appreciate
And
that.
build awareness in town of this
Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful resource we
Yeah.
have.
that
Yeah.
nobody knows, except
right.
unless you live there.
Right.
It's a,
Right.
it's
yeah, and I
actually,
think that would be one of the things to think about is trying to get the neighborhood organized to do the mowing and the maintenance of that area. You know, it's always great to have people feel like they're part of that.
Ownership, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Cheryl, Rob? Arthur, thank you.
Thank you very much for having
This
us.
is a great, great work and great progress.
appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Pete, who's next?
The next is Nick with the two projects that they've got, the landing and the basketball court.
Great, welcome.
Good evening, thank you.
Introduce yourself for the
Sure.
audience.
Nicholas Milano, Town Administrator.
Christine Stanton, Director of the Council on Aging.
Welcome.
So in terms of talking about the town center improvements first, we've submitted an application to hopefully move forward in both projects, and there one application, which was some of the feedback we heard from CPC during the initial eligibility discussion period. So for further background, the town through CPC had appropriated $40,000 for that basketball court to improve that. Once the appropriation, we had initially asked for a higher amount. And when we worked through contractors that have done work in town for us and another contractor who was on site doing the work at Platt and Walnut, to try to get them to do the work while they were mobilized, we were unable to secure anybody who was able to perform the work under that appropriation, unfortunately. I was hopeful that we would have been able to, but we weren't. Since then, we've explored a couple of other options, but ultimately we've landed back on return to CPC for an additional appropriation. The budget is based on a refreshed quote from Vermont Rec, who has done a couple of projects for Milton and other communities, where they have a total estimated project cost of $75,000, just shy of $75,000. And the request that I've submitted is $85,000, which gives us a little bit of wiggle room in case their number is low. I would expect more likely that once it's competitively bid, it should be slightly, if not more than that, lower than the $75,000. So that's the nature of the basketball court side of the project. I'll let Christine speak to the bocce aspect of the project.
So bocce is well suited for older adults due to its inclusive and non-strenuous nature. It's all abilities, all disabilities are able to play. Even though it's easy physically, there is strategy and it can be competitive. And in many other communities, it's a very competitive sport where towns actually, senior centers and other towns compete against one another. And I worked at Fuller Village for 7 years and helped get their bocce group going, and they have a very competitive group, and they would love some competition in town.
I love it, I love it.
The other point is, when I started as director about 5.5 years ago, we had 848 members, and we have 3,950 now. 80% of which are women. So I'm really looking to increase our male participation. You know, if you're listening, if you're age 60 or older, looking for something to do, I'd love to have some men take this project and really go with it, which I
So you're
know
saying I'm eligible?
you are eligible.
Alright.
Do you like bocce?
I can get competitive with the best of them, yeah.
I don't know, where's the pizza component of it? I mean,
It's-
Yeah, right.
We have to wear whites?
Montilio's truck to come over.
Yeah, I hear you.
So like I said, in many other communities, it's a very inclusive, and I, spoke with Duxbury, who had a grassroots effort to get their bocce court going, and they have over 100 members down there, so I think it will take off, if it's approved. I did work with, Bill Lombardi And we should have the quote, I believe was submitted as
Mhm.
part of
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
I also wasn't sure, I do have a letter of support from the Council on Aging Board of Directors, if you received that, I can.
Was that submitted with the original, or you just got that recently? You can submit it now.
I
if
think
you-
we'll submit it now
Yeah.
just in case,
Okay, perfect.
because it was kind of done with Nick Connors and,
Yeah.
so just to make sure. it's-
Probably, if you could,
Yeah,
you could probably do it
send
online.
electronically,
Okay,
then
sure.
We could put it down.
Yeah, put it on.
And the other piece I should have mentioned and was that in collaboration with the neighborhood, there was a public meeting in
Yep.
May,
Mhm.
June timeframe to talk more about the project to seek their buy-in and feedback as well.
The other element that you've got here is landscaping and seating and things like that. Is that being worked on now as a plan?
Yes, it's part of it all,
Yeah,
all kind of
all inclusive, so-
correct.
So this added to the 40,000 that you got before should get that entire project completed.
That is
The
my
intent.
So 165 would be total project cost.
Correct.
Yeah.
With both projects.
And the maintenance is, who would do that, is responsible for that?
So the kind of passive maintenance in terms of the grounds of the grass that's here, that is maintained by Driscoll as they maintain all of town hall grounds and the fire station grounds. At no cost in the COA as well, so that is continuing to be done in terms of kind of court maintenance and bocce court maintenance. That's what we need to work on in terms of select board DPW parks. It's one of those kind of odd pieces of land that's a park under the select board's control. There's not a lot in terms of demand for maintenance right now, and beyond just the general landscaping needs that Driscoll provides. So-
Assume that there would be like trash pickup and that kind of stuff too, so there'd be that. And any consideration, again, I bring up the water fountain, anybody think about that?
I don't believe so. It's something we can look at. I just don't know where the most successful water service would be, if it comes off Walnut or not. So it's something we can review. I hadn't heard that comment, so I apologize for that, but it's something we can put on the radar, something to think about. going forward.
Does the fire station have a publicly accessible
Water?
water? I mean, like, can you walk into the fire station and refill your water bottle? Maybe not.
No, you can get only into the foyer before you have to ring for somebody. to help you.
Yeah.
And the former doesn't have a breaking top for that, yes. I'm trying to think of.
Trying to picture.
I just there, like.
I mean, the
Well,
new,
not
renovated building does,
The other-
right? There's a water
When you go to the.
in the kitchen there,
Yeah.
yeah,
The interior,
Yeah.
but it's all locked up.
but that's locked up, yeah, normal.
And
Okay.
is there one other question? Is the bocce court, is that versatile enough to be used for other sort of lawn games besides bocce, or is it just bocce?
I think it's just bocce.
Uh-huh. Okay,
It's narrow lawns, there's not room in there to put a croquet
Yeah,
or
right.
anything like
And it's
that.
kind of it's gravel. So,
yeah,
so,
there's that, okay. Yeah, there's that French one that, I can't remember what it's called, but
It's baton,
baton, yeah,
but it's the same, you can play it on the same surface.
that's what's my question is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same game. And then there's this other weird thing I found in my house, and I turned out when we were having Crane Fields party, I had this box and I didn't know what it was, and I looked it up and it's some carpet ball, and it's English. And this set was made like in New Zealand or something like that, and that's the same kind of idea.
You
There
throw
are
it out,
walls
you
and
try to
discs and
get
stuff
close
like
to it,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be painted on carpet,
Uh-huh,
not gravel.
okay, that's all I got.
This is great, thank you
All right.
very much.
thanks for
Appreciate
your
it.
consideration.
And appreciate you, the juggling
Yeah,
coordination
coming together.
between the two of you and also the neighborhood. We appreciate their support, I think, for this as well.
I like the idea of the two, the two sports, to address. Those different needs. I think that's great.
Intergenerational.
And it's probably not dangerous.
Thank you.
just put the
Thank
ball.
you.
It probably doesn't produce as many injuries as it.
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised.
Competitive bocce.
Competitive boxing.
All right,
Can I give you these?
Nick,
Can I give you these for posting? the
Oh,
minutes?
yes, certainly. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
so Nick, you want to talk about,
The landing.
Yes.
like,
A sport in which I participate.
Yes, and the Dorchester Reporter has a very nice article this week or whenever their issue comes out on the New Ponce Rowing Club and their efforts to expand their enrollment involvement into the city of Boston even further. So keep an eye out for that. It's online now.
Mhm.
Their paper actually.
Thursday.
It's a Thursday, so it's probably Thursdays. So we talked about this in the eligibility rounds. Nothing has really changed on this front beyond what we talked about then. And some of the same questions that were raised then in terms of parking and such, there are similar answers. So the concept is that in order to try to keep progressing along and improve boat ramp, getting a better handle on the environmental aspect of the work, try to commence some of that environmental permitting as well as do further due diligence as to what kind of removal of contaminants will be required. As it's currently funded through the EPA and others, the Superfund project is focused on the freshwater side of the Neponset. But through work that Ty and Bond has done through a grant that the town of Milton received, identified the same contaminants on the saltwater portion of the Neponset. And there isn't a plan or a game plan in place to remove those. So any work that disturbs sediment would involve removal of sediment would then presumably have contaminated sediment that would need to be remediated or disposed of properly. So it can take what is not the most complicated of projects in the world to very expensive very quickly. When we had an initial cost estimate on the boat ramp construction, the contractors that we spoke to just said, until we know about the contaminants and how that disposal will happen, both in terms of a place where it's going to go, how it's going to get there, where it's going to be in the meantime, it's just throwing numbers at a wall. So getting to that certainty allows the project to slowly move forward. But that's the gist of where we stand. I'll just note the other component, and I don't know if I've mentioned this previously, is that the state has approved an earmark for a bond bill of up to $750,000 for the project. These earmarks have been in the paper lately because the governor is not releasing them. Those are the budget earmarks that are in the regular governor's budget. This was a bond in a bond bill, and those earmarks are even harder to get. So it's a line item in a massive economic development bond bill. In order to try to access those funding, you really need kind of a shovel-ready project. And even then, it's still an uphill battle. So the goal of this is to try to keep progressing this, get to a point where while we have the designs for the ramp by Child's Construction or Child's Engineering, which does a lot of marine work, this is the aspect of the project that we are the least, I wouldn't want to say informed about, but in terms of getting to certainty for project cost is where the most work lies.
So that 750 would also be for the hardscape. It wouldn't be like a continued cleanup of the harbor or something.
If we could pitch together that the sediment removal and disposal and installation of a new boat ramp is fully funded with that $750,000, we'd have a more compelling case. But if it was, we know this will pay for the boat ramp, we're not really sure on the disposal on contaminants yet. Can you give us the money? It's not unlikely to happen at that point. So wrapping up to certainty in terms of both what we expect the cost will be and then pulling together the other subsequent funding together to do that is how we can make the most compelling pitch.
Right.
So questions for Nick on this?
You reminded us of the Dexter Southfield lease. It was 5 years, is that right?
Correct. We have 3 tenants down there at Milton Yacht Club, the Ponset Rowing, and Dexter, and they each have an agreement for the next 3.5 years at this point.
Right. And is the Dexter agreement, is that for a certain amount of space?
Dexter and Neponset are approximately 5,000 square feet, known as lots B and C on the landing. So they're adjacent to each other. So the rowing club is farther down, and Dexter's obviously a little bit closer.
Right.
Was the Dexter, this is a little off topic, but was the Dexter structure a surprise to the town? Or have you gotten any negative feedback on it? It just dominates this.
I think that is the aesthetic is something we've talked about with them, and I'll just note that they've been a good partner in terms of being collaborative with their neighbors. They installed at their own dollar the low profile boat launch ramp, whatever you call it. They install it and remove it seasonally at their expense. But we agree, we've had discussions with them in terms of ways to mitigate some of those comments. So those are going.
I mean, my concern would be the public, it doesn't feel like a public. It could potentially not feel like a public area. It feels like a Dexter Southfield, area.
It never felt like a public area before.
Well, I mean, that's been an
Now it
issue,
really
that's
doesn't.
been an issue for a long
Yeah,
time, but now with that
Yeah.
structure and the signage and the branding, it kind of.
And I agree with that. I think I agree with both pieces. It always felt kind of a small group of people's area,
Yes.
which it's not. And I think we improved aspects of it and still have problems to work through in other aspects. So
Fair
half
point,
matches.
fair point, yeah. Other questions, Cheryl, Rob? Questions for Nick?
Oh, I just have some-
So this is, oh, go ahead, Jenny, go ahead.
Well, just a follow-up to the child's engineering thing. In their study, are they gonna assume continued occupancy by the three leases?
That is where the coordination will come in. So for right now, if we were at construction, we have executed leases that we really can't tell people to move on. So it's another.
So that's sort of restricted for them, what they.
It's more restrictive, not so much for the engineering, but more for the contractor in terms of mobilization, space to work. So it's a concern in terms of getting through construction. But as we expect to be a few years out, those leases will be up, and maybe that's an opportunity to think about timing it all well, so it works out, but it's a concern. The area as we talked about, just in terms of parking, it's just tight overall. So.
Is there a chapter 91 license for that original boat, the boat ramp that's there now?
For the town's ramp, the town's dock, yes.
For the dock,
For the dock.
but the ramp probably predated that. Check with that.
No,
Number one, no.
chapter 91 has been around a long
Yeah,
time.
that's been there.
A very long time. So, yeah, I mean, so the lift, there should be something. For the lift.
And something a little, it's our bailiwick, but not this project.
Sure.
I think, bids came in for the work at the yacht club. The masonry work
So
and windows.
What we have put out to bid is just the window portion of that project. We felt the disciplines were so totally separate to separate out the projects entirely. So the window portion of the project is out to bid now. We had a number of questions come in from bidders, so the deadline had been extended and it's extended to Monday, the 27th at 11 a.m. So this time next week, we'll have bids in hand for the window replacements. And we've had, I'd say 3 companies that are actively submitting information,
Fantastic.
attending site visits. So that project will
Hopefully.
get.
Have you had anyone out to look at the masonry? Because I was down there probably not too long ago, and the masonry continues to be in a little bit disrepair too.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just after so much time, it continues to be in disrepair. So I think it would be good to get someone to go down there and take a look at that, especially if you're going to be putting new windows in, especially around the headers and everything else. So just something to keep in mind as some of these old buildings, they continue to wear.
Yeah, I agree. I think in terms of this approach on the project, it's just with public construction and having to now we're paying a GC for kind of it just felt to streamline the project, and because the disciplines were sufficiently, we felt separate. Yeah, we're getting window contractors and carpenters, and then we'll be able to wrap up the masonry. So that's what we're going to plan to move on immediately, and hopefully have that wrapped up in the spring.
It's possible that the window contract won't take the entire budget. Hopefully there'll be enough left over to do the masonry.
We're
Are these the talks?
confident. We're we're confident of strong pricing on the windows based on where things have been. What
Right.
it means for the full budget, we'll see
See
a
what
week from,
happens.
a week from today.
Thank you.
Sure.
Cheryl, did you have your hand up?
I did, Tom, but I took it down. Thanks.
Okay. Great. All right, any other
Well,
questions?
now it's just Wharf.
Oh, yeah,
The bicycle wayfaring thing, the Jesse Gordon thing. He never responded to us, you know, to come in about the eligibility. He never responded to our invitation to come present to us.
Yep.
So we'll just take that with a grain of salt.
Can I just follow up on that? Pete, did you use the same sort of email that Julia had used?
I used the email that was on his application.
Yeah. because
I
at
thought
one
he
point
did
said-
respond though, didn't he respond
he
to us?
actually
did.
did respond after the fact. We have two email
We
addresses
have
for
actually
him.
three.
Three?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
okay.
three.
Yeah.
I used the one that was on his application form.
Yeah, I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, I mean, we can make one more attempt before our November 5th meeting and just, and see.
But did he ever put in a funding app? He never put in a funding
He
application.
did.
He did, no, he did.
Oh, he
Because
did?
He responded late, but after the eligibility, interviews or whatever conversations were set up, he did respond. And, that's how we had the three emails for him, because he gave us some additional emails. And
But then I would assume.
I think it wasn't that we sent it to the wrong location. It might have been his filter.
Yeah,
I'm not
who
sure
knows?
exactly what was going on, but,
But it would seem that after that kerfluffle with the eligibility.
Original one.
application, That the email that he put on the funding one should work, I bet, I don't know,
yeah, so
we'll figure that out.
we can. The signs are all over Randolph running for reelection, so.
Right. Now, the other.
So
the other
maybe he's
one is
busy.
Wharf Park, and I love Scott.
Wait, will you follow up with him?
Yes, I will follow up with him. and-
Various different emails.
And
or-
send it to all three emails we have, and I think I might even have a phone number for him, so I will call that if I
Yeah,
do
because
that.
it's a legitimate request.
It is. Yeah. And
Wharf Park,
we never heard from. Is that, no, or we did hear?
well, we, you know, gave him the email.
Yeah.
Inviting him in tonight, you know, that he could pick a night he wanted to come in. And so I don't know if he's out there or what's going on.
Did he say he wanted this night? He requested.
I
this night?
can't remember if he requested, yeah, I believe he did request this night. But whichever one, I mean.
So is November 5th a option for the last night to present?
Yeah, I think with both.
Oh,
of
those
these
are the two?
projects, I do want to start deliberations on November 5th, obviously, but I think we could accommodate.
Offer them.
Those are the only two that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
So I think we give them one more shot on November 5th, and, I think that would be good. We do have on the agenda, potential discussion of FY 26 applications. So it's 8:04, and I'm just looking to the committee, to what's your pleasure of, obviously, we haven't heard from every applicant. Do we want to begin a conversation, about, or just defer that to the November 5th?
Well, we had that, I think to sort of have a general discussion of like where we are and where we're going is a good idea.
Mhm.
And I guess I have another meeting on the 5th, but,
Right.
but there was an Excel spreadsheet, which I now can't find,
Yep.
that had like all the,
Yeah.
oh, yes, thanks. And like how much we have available. Yeah, so you're right, so it's 1 million something.
We have
$1.5 million, $1.50 million.
1,050,000, right.
in applications, of currently of 1,068,009.
Yeah.
Actually, 1.8 something,
Including the wharf.
including the wharf, yeah. So, yeah, the big elephant is
Well,
the
what-
wharf.
What's the wharf? What was the wharf total?
750.
1.8, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So without the wharf, we can actually basically fund everybody that's applied.
So
That's
sorry,
all.
can you, what was the
Yeah, let me just repeat that. The total request, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, are 1.8.
Yeah.
One-
this is big stuff.
1.8, yeah, it's in front of me. I have it. 1.8 million.
I'll take that.
request?
dollars. You know, as Jenny was saying,
Mhm.
if you subtract the request from the wharf project. Of 750,000. The total is 1.06 million. So we basically have funding. To fully fund every applicant
Well,
minus
we've
the
got-
wharf, but we also.
But we
have-
can't spend the whole, there's 105 for historic preservation. And what we don't award today, we have to hold over for next year.
Right. Right, good point. So there's some budget math that we need to do, but and obviously the wharf discussion from day one has been a conversation about would we bond it? And here is on cue.
Yeah,
Here is Scott.
just
Would
in
we?
time.
Oh, there he is.
Supposed to be one.
No, you're in time, yeah.
Tom,
Yeah, everybody else is done, you're.
Yeah, we moved quicker than
No.
some
Tom,
other communities. That's all I'll say. I'm not saying which.
Hi Rob, hi Cheryl, anybody else online?
Robert Powers, who is Housing Authority representative, who is not official member yet, but he will be once he's sworn in later this week. So
Great.
he's sitting in and observing.
Congratulations.
So
Tom, just, can I ask a quick question before you get to Scott?
yes,
I'm looking in the folder and I don't see a current spreadsheet because the one
Yeah,
I see
Jenny-
is for
That's 'cause I've done it.
$1,000,009.
Jenny did an updated spreadsheet.
Okay. Can that be emailed to us
yeah.
then?
No, it didn't get, it was only to Tom and Pete, but it's on a Google Doc. Can you access that?
I can,
Cheryl?
yes. Mhm.
Okay, I'll include you right now.
Okay, great. Thank you. And hello, Scott.
Hello Cheryl.
All right. Okay. Scott, why don't you introduce yourself? And,
Sure. My name is Scott McKay, resident of the town now, not affiliated with anyone, not even a town meeting member anymore. Former park commissioner, and I am on the board of Milton Farmers Market and also on the Friends of Milton Recreation. So this project was kind of a brainchild, started with the farmers market folks. Just looking at the space that wasn't quite adequate for the current use of just the farmers market, but we really took an opportunity and a leap here to create a space that's going to be more inviting for other users for the park, and also correct some of the grading issues, make it an accessible park for folks, and really be another center in town. And this one would be obviously on the waterfront. So I don't know how much of the history you want me to get into it, but we came to CPC 2 funding cycles ago and got a $25,000 grant to create some conceptual designs for the project. And that was about a year-long process. And then we came back and got $73,500 last year of $158,000 to get the engineering part of this project complete. We're still not there. We're at 75% documents now. And we're waiting kind of for a couple more things to fall in place. We expect fully to have 100% construction docs by the end of this year. So it's a little bit slower of a timeline that we wanted. We wanted to be done now. So when it came to CPC funding and also capital committee funding, for it to be a signed, sealed, and delivered project, but due to some delays, we're at 75%. But we feel confident, like I said, by the end of the year, we'll have this project shovel ready. So
end of the calendar. Yeah.
End of this calendar year, correct. So the application that we submitted this year
We took a look at the budget. And we had an independent cost estimate done at the 50% drawing documents. And also at the 75% documents. And feel pretty comfortable. The number is still pretty conservative in the estimates, but we expect fully to get the project cost down to about 1.2 million. The application for CPC and CPA money is for 750,000 of that 1.2 million. We also submitted a $250,000 application to the capital committee. So that's where we are in terms of funding. We had a meeting last week and Cheryl actually was gracious enough to attend. We did a walkthrough of the 75% plans and just kind of took a look at some things that we may have missed along the way, some things that need to be addressed before the 100% documents are out. And then our committee kind of stuck around afterwards and had a conversation in terms of how the funding is going to look and what potentially different avenues that we can tap into. So Kyle Harness really is motivated for this project. I was happily surprised. He and Brian Pasquantonio and our landscape architect were at the meeting as well, and kind of the commitment level that I heard from the business community was really kind of inspiring. So what I did from that meeting, and I didn't have a chance to email it to you, was took that $1.2 million or let's go back. The construction documents, the 50% documents that we got from our cost cost estimator, was this project was going to be 1.942 million. And so we went back to the drawing board and cut about $500,000 off of that estimate, and 400,000. And right now, still at only 75% docs, we're at about 1.56 million. So we still need to sharpen our pencils more. We did some creative things in terms of changing the initial documents that went out. We pulled out the walkway around the general walkway around the park. Instead of doing it 100% brick, we considered doing a brick border with pavement walkway. So that's going to save about 84,000. And we also talked about the stairway that comes from the building that's on Adams Street that connects to the park. Is an additional set of stairs that comes in from the kind of that private driveway behind the hardware store. And if we were to go ahead with that, that would be an additional 69,000. I think those two alternates, we would rely on private funding if and when we get to that point to fill those two things. What we did was we broke out the 1.56 million into potential funding sources, and I apologize to Cheryl and you, Rob. I can send it to you. But kind of taking a look at the project, it made sense in my brain. This is again a draft, so we can address this further, but there's infrastructure work with this park, and that was the original budget that we had come up with, was probably around 750,000 to do this park. And then based on the community process and the development of the conceptual drawings, people wanted some amenities added. So that's why it has grown to what it is. But if we strip this park down to a usable space that has a flat surface, that has a walkway around it, it's going to be somewhere around $1 million. So we kind of looked at it and said, well, the current users of the park have certain needs for this project, and those things should be funded by the folks who are asking for it. So we're talking about foundations, private folks, businesses, individuals to make up the gap between what the infrastructure costs are going to be and what kind of the amenities are going to be to this park. So that's how we split it. So in rough numbers, 72% would be picked up by the town, which would again address the infrastructure part of it. And then the private funds would come in for the additional 500,000. We're expecting about 12.8% from foundations, 8.3% from private in-kind donations, and then about 110,000 from private dollars. I think we were successful so far in the engineering portion of this. It's not a real sexy investment for folks to put money into the engineering costs on our project. But we were able to raise private funds to fill in whatever the balance was from what was first awarded by CPC, that's 73,500. So again, with that in mind and kind of the interest from the business community that I've seen, I think these numbers are attainable and achievable. And again, we're looking to get this project down to about 1.2 million, skinny it down some, to get to an amount that I think is reasonable to be able to raise on the private side. So that is pretty much the update. I don't know if there's anything specifically you guys want me to focus on more or expand on, but I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Let's open it up for questions. Rob?
Yeah, so I guess a few questions, Scott. One is, you feel like when do you think this project would start in your mind? Do you think it starts when, what is your timeline, I guess, and just kind of reviewing the schedule of when you think this project would be shovel ready?
I would want this to start July 1st as soon as the funding was made available.
Okay.
We still need to go through the public bid process.
Yeah.
And I just actually gave this portion to Nick. There was a strong sense that some of the folks in the business community want to participate with some in-kind donations. And so the next step for our team is to sit with Nick and really try to parse out what we can go through the public bid process and what are some of the things that we can get donated to this project. So
I guess maybe this is a question for Nick too, is because you would want all the funds secured before going to do that process?
So if town meeting votes on May 10th to appropriate X amount of dollars to this project, while we would have certainty that the money is there, we couldn't execute any construction contracts.
Yeah.
If work happens outside of that, outside of the town's contract, there isn't any kind of prohibition on that as long as the select board approves the work. So it's kind of one of those kind of issues. Like, we obviously wouldn't want any disturbance to the site until we knew that the full appropriation was there, that the amount of money was sufficient to do the whole project. But if in those times, those kind of intervening time periods, work begins, that would be acceptable. You just have to be careful on how you approach it.
And I think that's a really good question, Rob.
Yeah.
In the sequence on this and kind of the timing of it also fits in with kind of how we looked at this budget. You know, if the town in fact steps forward and says, we're going to give X dollars to this project, the infrastructure work can start. We can get this park to a point where it's usable. And it may take additional money for plantings. We're planning on having a spot for like, you know, a kid's area. There's bike racks that are included. There's a piers to enter the park. So there's some things that we can kind of
Okay.
add on as the project's going, but the infrastructure piece of it, that's the most important piece to get this thing started by July 1.
And then I guess my last question while we have Nick here, and probably is the big question for our committee, is what's this going to cost the committee to bond? And what does that look like? And what does 750, let's say, you know, what does $750,000 look like to bond over whatever it is? And if do you have any idea like what that would mean for the committee?
Rob, at the July meeting, it was estimated of 90,000 over 20 years,
Okay.
if that's correct, Nick, is that?
Yeah, I'd say a range between $80,000 and $90,000, likely declining slightly each year over the course of 15 years. It's a,
Okay.
I think we could only borrow this for up to 15 years, not beyond that.
And then does that come out? I guess it doesn't, it would be like a category for open space and recreation. That would be.
Yes,
Yeah, and it would come out of our budget.
every year.
assigned
Every year for
every
20
year,
years.
And assigned to the open
Yeah.
space category, yeah.
And just the nuance there is likely that with the first year, a debt service payment would happen would be fiscal
Yes,
28.
yeah, so that's great point. And that's one of the things Scott and I have talked about, right? This would not have an impact on this year's budget.
Right.
Or next year's, if it's FY 28,
No, then this budget we're working on is fiscal 27.
Yeah.
27.
Oh, yeah. So it would be like the
Right,
next.
so it would show up
As a cost.
as a cost in next year's budget, yeah, for us.
And then the other piece of
So
this.
that's
is
why Jenny in the spreadsheet, once you see it, she took out the 750 because it doesn't really
Doesn't
impact
apply this year.
our decisions this year.
Yeah, and I think it'll be like if we were to go and move forward this, Scott, like obviously I think like we need the 2/3 vote at town meeting and all that.
Right, so that is also a conversation that we haven't even gotten to yet, of course, but
Yeah.
it would be a decision of this committee. I think the best practice that I've seen from other, and Kathleen is we actually have two articles.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, otherwise you make the whole thing 2/3 dependent, which hasn't been
That
an
sounds
issue in the
great.
past,
Yeah.
but you would have two articles, one for this and the bonding and one for the remainder of the,
Right, I would do
is
that.
is that
Yeah,
what
I would do that.
most towns do? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do have a question. So we're kind of in a catch-22 here. We're kind of holding back, waiting for CPC and also capital committee to make some decisions on this project. But it's also, I've talked to some foundations and some personal donors who I don't know what like if this year you would make the commitment to bond it and then I just
Yeah,
it would
vote on it.
Okay.
We would vote on it to borrow.
okay.
But the cost of the borrowing doesn't come up until
Okay.
the following.
Yeah, you would have an improved
But you-
project coming out of town meeting
Right.
if
Great.
town meeting
Okay.
Yeah.
deemed it,
Awesome.
that they wanted to support it, but yeah,
Right.
you would have, it
Yeah.
would be just like any other project in that regard. But the bonding makes it different
Yeah.
because the fiscal impact on the committee's budget wouldn't show up until the next year, so that's it.
But the vote happens.
But yeah.
In
you
the
would-
spring.
Okay.
And even before that, you would be able to say to some funders, for what it's worth. That the recommendation, if this committee recommended it to town meeting, right? That will come by the end of this year or whatever. Typically, we make our recommendations in December or.
And we would probably go to those donors asking for a commitment and not a contingent
Upon the
upon.
vote.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right, more questions, Jenna?
So the design, is this set in stone? I mean, I know you've had some public input, some question as to whether there's enough public input for this design. I mean, how flexible is this design?
Well, it's at 75% documents, so
Not that flexible. If they're at 75%.
That's, oh, okay.
You can take little changes around the edges, but you can't be making a substantive change.
Mhm. And what is the distance of the diameter of the circle?
Oh, if I've got that information for, but I can get it for you. It's a. You guys are easy. It looks like 56 and 38 feet, if I were to read that correctly.
Yeah, the radius is 58 feet.
What's the diameter then?
Will be twice that.
Okay. And is that from the edge of the brick to the edge of the brick, or is that the grass part? I'm just sort of curious because I was just down there today and it seemed like it was just kind of getting a sense of this circle, how big the circle really is.
So
Like it looks pretty big in this picture, but it's not really very big.
So right now, the tree is just about in this location, and this is where the
The beech tree is here, right?
correct, and this is,
And this is
there's a
where the elk
walkway
is.
that goes back here right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's basically, you know, this part of the park right now is the usable space, but it's gonna incorporate a much larger area than is accessible now.
And who pays for electricity once the lights are in and stuff?
The town.
Correct. And so
Is that right?
we took Cheryl, when Cheryl was at the meeting, she asked, well, what's the maintenance cost gonna look like this on a yearly basis? And our landscape architect and Brian Pasquantone, who owns his own landscaping company, kind of took a stab at this, and it's looking at between $12,000 and $15,000 a year for your spring cleanup, your fall cleanup, you know, plant maintenance, that type of stuff. So annually, it's going to be somewhere between 12 and 15,000.
Mhm. Can I keep going?
Yeah.
I noticed that there wasn't any support letter from the farmer's market itself. Is that, have you asked them for that?
It's the applicant.
Yeah, we're one of the applicants.
They're
The
the,
farmer's market is the applicant?
yeah,
Okay,
it's one of them.
all right,
They've
so,
been on the they were on the original application.
Yeah,
so it would mean that they would have to relocate for a year, is that right?
Correct.
Do they have a place in mind where that would be?
No. Likely it would be either next to Kelly Field. We would have to go to the Parks Department, Kelly Field, or the gazebo area out front. Those are some things that we'd have to go through the town, ask those questions.
Or the deck? No.
I mean, that it's a possibility if, you know, if other areas, we've always hesitated for the deck because it's hard,
Right.
you know, with foot traffic and loading. Good point.
Well, that's the other thing I was gonna say, is like, how do the vendors get, I mean, there's stuff like over there.
Yep. So this is the walkway is going to be wide enough to bring a vehicle on. They're not going to be able to park there during the actual market.
Yeah.
They would have to load in and load out, similar to what they do at other markets. And what you can't see here too is there's an additional walkway that goes to that back parking lot, which would probably be more accessible for the folks who are on that side of the circle.
Okay.
Scott, are you chair of the board of the farmers market or?
No,
You're on.
I am on the board, yes.
Other questions? Sure.
Not a question, but I wanted to share that when I met with Scott and the others that on the design side, I made a comment that at the lower end of the walkway, closer to the trolley, that it would be beneficial to have a handicap curb cut so that someone doesn't have to go through the parking lot and up the roadway to get to the sidewalk. So they agreed, and I just wanted to point that out. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll just share too that we had a good conversation, the folks around the table that Scott mentioned. And we also talked about whether there was opportunity to pull some things out of the public bid scope of work, such as plant material and that sort of thing, because that has a potential savings of 30% on those scope items. And so I know, Scott, you were looking at that too. So I just wanted to make sure that people heard that component too. Thanks.
Other questions? Pete?
Did you get the arborist report we talked about?
We had 2 arborists no show ons. Doug Hunt is gonna be the next part. He's already lined up to do the work, so we will be getting that letter for you, and I'll share it with you once we get that.
And he's lined up to do
The actual,
clearing and stuff.
no, he's gonna do the assessment of the tree.
It's the same thing I've been saying since the project first started. That magnificent oak tree is in perfectly good condition. And to remove it is irresponsible. And there's, and I just think the whole premise of the design was based on the notion or some advice that you had gotten that the tree wasn't healthy and things like that. And the whole design is based on removing that tree. And I just think you could have a very similar design and protect that tree. And, the grading would be different. It would save a lot of money in terms of grading, in terms of wall building. So I do not think that the design presented is sensitive to the site and appropriate for the site. And I just think it's a very expensive design on a site that's kind of simple. And, input from the public meeting was keep it simple. And this is a very elaborate, very expensive design. And I just think it's, not appropriate for the site. So I guess that's what I would say.
I mean, as the person who was at 7 or 8 public meetings on this, I respectfully disagree with that.
To my knowledge, there were 2 public meetings.
There's been a lot of, well, again, I think that Doug will make the assessment on the tree, and if he seems to think that it's salvageable, then that's fine. This project is a project we're hoping to have a useful life of the next 30 to 40 years. That tree is not going to be here in that time.
It will be.
And again, we'll just respectfully disagree on that. I think that this particular part, in that particular part of town, is begging for investment, and I just don't, this is going to open up a lot of space, and this design was thoughtful in terms of trying to get as much public use out of this space as possible.
I just don't see a lot of public input into the design.
And again,
limited, it seemed like a very limited group that was working on the design, and whether those people had, the technical knowledge of, what some of this stuff is gonna be. The landscape architects do, I know. But, I think the design was, not put together in a very good way, and I don't think it's a good design for the site. Given its history and its current condition and things like that, I just don't think it's a design that town should adopt.
Scott, do you wanna, you mentioned 7 or 6 or 7 meetings or whatever, do you wanna just quickly go through that public?
Sure, so
facing process that.
Again, I don't have notes on that in front of me, so
Yeah. I mean,
we had one very large public meeting with 3. So in order to have some focus on what this potentially could be, our landscape architect came up with 3 different designs for the space, and based on feedback during that initial public meeting, they went back and put together a conceptual idea of what this could look like. We met with every member of the planning board, came down and did a walkthrough. We sat with the arts community to get their input on the space, because we're hoping to be able to provide a space where folks can use this for either theater or music. There was an amphitheater concept that was considered. You know, the input from the planning board was to rearrange this park and face it towards the water. We took that into consideration. Folks wanted to have it an accessible park, reduce the slope, still make it usable for the Milton Farmers Market. So there were probably a series of 6 meetings in between the 2 larger public meetings that happened. And we have constraints on budget too. We have a landscape architect who is given $25,000 for this project to have these public meetings, garner input, and come together with a conceptual design. I think they did a phenomenal job with listening to the public and trying to bring together as much as possible to make this project work for the users of the park. Not just current users, but users who are going to use this space in the future. And I think that they did a considerable job with the money that we had and the resources that we have to make this happen. And it saddens me to hear that folks don't think this was a public enough process, because we heard a lot of input, we synthesized a lot of input and came up with the best possible design that we could. And at this point, the rehabilitation of this park really is on the town. As being 70 to 75% of the funding, the decision is going to rest with this board and the select board whether or not this project happens. It's not reasonable to ask the private sector to enter in and commit to this project without having the town behind it. This is a town-owned land, select board property. And I think that there was a very, I spent a lot of my own time. The designer has gone above and beyond his responsibility. They did not get paid for a good portion of this work because they want to see this project be the best project it can be for Milton. And, like I said, agree or disagree on the tree, that decision hasn't been fully made. If it does come back that the tree has more than a 15-year life, then don't fund the project. But I think to hold it up over one oak tree that's in deterioration, and I went down when half the tree fell and broke our picnic bench that was there. This park has been neglected for a long time. The root system is exposed. The slope of the property is not accessible for folks. And this was an effort to make the park as safe as possible for folks to use and accessible. And part of the CPA application is to maximize our public spaces. In one area in particular was at the waterfront. It's specifically mentioned in the master plan. It's specifically mentioned in the CPA plan. And no one else from the community stepped forward to take this project on. And I think we did as best we could, given the constraints, to come up with an exceptional design. And if folks don't think we've done enough due diligence on this, that will come down to a funding decision.
Scott, can I ask you about the Hunt's timeline?
Sure.
When will you expect to have an assessment from Hunt on the tree?
I would have to go back to the architect. He's the one who's coordinating that. I know he's met on site with him once.
But
So-
before the end of the year,
I would think so.
I applaud the effort that, you know, I went to the conceptual design meeting and the layout that was shown after that, which in essence was this layout from without any grading or anything. I think it was a good response to the response of the people and creating, you know, from a plan view, it creates, I think, an interesting park. But because it was decided, you know, it was suggested early that that tree wasn't any good. And there was no, at the time those plans were done, there wasn't a survey that, you know, could indicate, and it wasn't until late you got into construction drawings that that, you know, the extreme cutting and the extreme amount of earthwork requiring, you know, all this wall and these very expensive stairs and things came in based on this notion that the tree would come down and you would be cutting that whole area 2 feet and as much as 6 feet up in there, you know, the amount of earthwork and the cost of the earthwork, you know, I think is the problem, and that was based on the notion of that tree wasn't, you know, it wasn't good. The same, you know, the process that the designers went through to create this plan view of what that park could be, I think was terrific, but that was before the survey information that dictated, you know, all this, you know, this extreme amount of earthwork required down there, and therefore all the extreme amount of walls being required and the expense of those, I think is where it went off, you know, it went off the.
In order to make this park accessible, it would have to be flattened out, so they would, regardless of
It doesn't
what.
have to be 100% flat.
It doesn't have to be 100%, but
Accessible.
if there's a significant grade difference between
The very
the
high quality
the
there.
park, so
Yeah.
there would have to be regardless of
Grade.
what the design is, there would have to be a significant grade change in the project, in the
So
the park.
Kathleen, did you have a question?
Oh, I just, I've read through several of the meetings, you know, and I appreciate where the design ended up. I'm also sensitive to the fact that, like the Tucker playground that we've been looking at, and also the Neponset is, estuary project, these are open space projects in areas of town that are presently underserved for open space. And I know, yeah, we got the wharf, but it's kind of, you know, that's sort of only for people that like to be on the water. And the park, that wharf park, I think is a really important asset that needs to be improved for this part of this town. But that's a very dense part of town without a lot of access to things. And and the town itself, of the many places that I've lived in my life, there aren't that many gathering spaces for this town. And that would be a very wonderful place, because it's accessible by bus, by transit, by bike, all kinds of things. So I think, I mean, saving the tree, you know, that's wonderful, but I also think the idea that we have a park that we're gonna be spending a bucket of money on, that's gonna be lasting for 50 years, is a more important, you know, effort. And
I think one of the goals is also drawing people down.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
As we
And
talked
we
about.
could have all that, we
Yeah.
could have all
Yeah.
of that,
Yeah.
you know, it just that.
All right,
Yeah.
other questions?
So I just wanted
for
to thank
Scott?
Scott for the work that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jenny?
Just one really
Yeah.
specific one.
Yes.
So on the budget for item number 182 is a wet tap. What's that? Can you just explain what that is?
Good point. I may have to get back to you on this.
It's a
but-
wet tap. It's on page 9 of 12 in the budget.
I
Item
imagine
number-
that's to put
I guess-
the, I imagine that's to put the irrigation system in. That's to
Yeah.
tap into a water source to get the irrigation system in.
Uh-huh, got you. So another water fountain could be attached to that.
Not on this budget.
The question of the night.
Yes, it just happened.
It's a good thing.
Reduce the budget.
All right, Scott, thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you
coming
guys
in.
for hosting me again. It's
And
been great.
thank you for your work on.
All right.
And I appreciate all that work too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, so it's 8:45. I think now is probably appropriate time to adjourn to next meeting, which will be November 5th. I think we should,
Do we have a meeting after November fifth?
we do not have one on the calendar after November fifth, and we probably need
Might
to.
need one,
Yeah, I think we need to.
So, you're the only one who won't be able to make the November fifth, is that right?
I think one of the things we've done in the past is kind of used one meeting to go over, our, and debate our sort of, priorities for funding, and then reserve the final votes to maybe a second meeting, where we have some time to think about that discussion and come back. And so, I think, also the bonding.
Yeah, so it seems
Can
to
we,
me.
can we
isn't
not just
like-
do that? Can we not just do that in one night? I
We
mean,
could potentially do it in one
Yeah.
night, yeah. The bonding part of it is something obviously we've never done before. We might wanna have the town treasurer in, to talk to us again about that, or have a conversation, have a.
I don't know, well, it seems to me that that's unfortunately, that's kind of like the first vote. Well, I mean, because,
Necessarily,
well,
because it
yeah.
doesn't impact this year's budget.
if you said, I guess you could say, well, what if you, so the wharf project, let me just understand this.
Mhm.
Just so I'm trying to
Yeah,
figure out loud.
yeah.
So the wharf project, if we voted a yes on that, it would only be to bond that.
Well, we currently, I mean, other than, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
no, we're not obligated to bond it, but obviously that,
that would,
with a budget, a
Yeah,
request of
massive.
yeah,
750 and a
yeah,
budget.
but that's the initial.
Realistic.
Realistically,
Yes.
logically, you
Yes.
have to say, okay, fine, that one, that's a vote to bond that. And that sits in the separate pocket.
Yeah.
And you really have to make that decision first.
I think you can make it last.
Yeah.
you can make it last too, right?
Yeah, I think,
It's
On
kind
the
of a
understanding
separate
that that's
conversation.
it. Okay,
I mean, I think that's why I asked them about the timeline.
Yeah.
On
Mhm.
Hunt's evaluation, because if that's
Mhm.
gonna be part of our deliberations, then it sounds like at least some.
I do think that would be smart to at least get that evaluation before before we make a decision
Yeah.
on it.
And again, we are under no statutory or timeline to typically we've finalized our recommendations before the end of the year. One year we went into January before we finalized. We do have, the only deadline really is making sure we have everything buttoned up for the warrant.
Right.
And so, I don't know.
But don't,
Nick,
I mean, I don't know how others,
that is, it's usually late January, early February, or
Earlier the better.
earlier.
But-
Yeah, I mean, we generally have not gone that long, so anyways, we have a little bit of time for the.
I don't know how others
evaluation
feel.
to come in.
I don't know how
other.
yeah, Rob,
Oh, I don't know how others feel, but I think if our next meeting is 7 to 9 o'clock and you have 2 hours, I mean, just looking at the global overview, it seems pretty simple that we have a budget that all these projects pretty much fit within, right? And then it's the bonding issue. So I think in 2 hours we could get it done personally.
I agree with that, Rob.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily want to have 2 meetings as going
Yeah.
into the holidays and such.
Okay, let's, and then
Try to do that.
let's try to do that, and if we need something to, because we don't have full information on the tree or other aspects of one of these projects, we can always add a meeting, but I think, Rob, I agree with Rob, and I think that's a good goal to
Okay.
have. All right,
Where is that meeting, Tom?
that meeting, I don't know if we have a
I don't think
location.
we have a location. I'd like to
Okay.
do
Would it be
it
here?
if we could.
November 5th.
Give me one moment.
We're working on it right now. It's nice having Nick in the room.
Just gotta make myself scarce.
Exactly.
It looks like it was already booked, so
For you?
for you folks. No, it's open if you would prefer to be across the street. Cronin or headquarters are open.
It's just us, so we're not having guests.
No, but it's open.
It's a public.
Theoretically.
I mean, theoretically it's open,
We
but
could have guests.
we're not inviting guests, I suppose, to speak.
Well, we're always inviting guests. I mean, it's a public meeting,
Yeah.
so I don't wanna give the false impression
Right,
that.
right.
Yeah, so we don't need
The big room.
the audiovisual and that room and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this room,
Sure.
okay, so in the Cronin conference room,
Yes, the only potential would be the bicycle wayfinding person.
yeah, but we can easily come
We
in.
could squeeze in.
Yeah, yeah. All right, motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to
I'll
adjourn.
second it.
Okay,
All right, we have a motion and seconds, all in favor, Jenny, Pete,
Yes.
Kathleen,
yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Tom, yes. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank
See
you.
you
Good night.
on November
Bye, good night.
5th.
Bye.